Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are so excited to have you here with us. This is our Paris webinar with tips on how to experience the best of the city. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join this and learn more. My name's Hallie. I'm part of the Walks and Devour team. If you're interested in visiting Paris, it's such an exciting time. There's really so much buzz in the city with the Paris Olympics last summer, with the new season of Emily in Paris. I know I'm not alone in loving that show, so let me know in the chat if you're also an Emily in Paris fan. And of course, there's the historic reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral this past December. I promise we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. We want to make this interactive. I see folks are writing in the chat where they're joining from. Thank you so much. It's really interesting to see where you're coming from. In the chat, you'll have my teammate Cassandra and Leah, who will be there to answer any of your questions about Paris. I see we've got folks from Tennessee. Someone is a fan of Emily in Paris. Awesome. We've got some folks from California, New York, Minnesota. Wow, someone from Portugal. Someone from Vermont. Amazing. Yeah, we've got folks from all across the country. Again, thanks so much for joining and being a part of this with us. So while we wait for everyone to join, I do have a question for you. I'm curious when your trip to Paris is. So we'll start a poll. You should see it pop up on your screen, and just let us know when you're planning on coming. We'd love to, give you some tailored recommendations based on when you're visiting. Looks like a few folks are coming in the spring. That's a wonderful time to visit. I know our guests will have some recommendations for that. Some folks don't have a trip planned yet. It's awesome to have a blank slate. We'll give you lots of recommendations and ideas of where to start. Wonderful. Well, let's get started. I know we've got an hour, but we've got a lot of information to get through. So let's jump right in. I want to tell you a little bit about who we are first before I introduce our special guests, who I know you're really excited to meet. But we are Walks Tours. We are a tour operator that leads small group tours across Europe and North America. We started 15 years ago in Rome, giving tours of the Colosseum and Vatican museums. And we learned that, visitors outside of Rome are also really interested in these small group experiences with expert guides and special access to world famous sites. So we expanded. We're in Paris. We've been in Paris for many years now, and we're also in 22 other cities across Europe and North America. Our newest city is Edinburgh. So if you're headed to Scotland, definitely check out our new early access Edinburgh Castle tour. It's pretty spectacular. In Paris, if you're joining us as a Walks guest, you can skip the line at the Louvre and Orsay Museum to see world famous art. You can join us on a day trip to the Palace of Versailles and wander through the beautiful gardens, see the Hall of Mirrors, and possibly get inside the King's private apartments with just your guide and your small group for a really special experience. And of course, we do walking tours around the city of Paris as well, like the Ile de la Cité neighborhood of Paris, sort of the medieval region or medieval neighborhood, where you'll see Sainte-Chapelle, the Conciergerie, which is where Marie Antoinette's prison cell is, and of course Notre Dame, which again we'll talk about in just a few moments. If you're coming to Paris, you're probably not just coming for the sights, although there is plenty to see. You are also likely interested in trying the food. Paris is a foodie city. Devour Tours is our food tour side of the business. And you can find Devour Tours in both Paris and Bordeaux. So Devour Tours, we connect curious travelers with local food and people in a way that helps culture thrive. So basically what that means is we'll pair you with a local guide. You'll go to the unique small family-run businesses in Paris and try their homemade products like their croissants, chocolate, crepes, local cheeses, and really so much more. And you'll get to meet these shop owners. You'll get to meet these people who have been working for generations sort of on their craft. And it's a really unique way to experience a culture when you're traveling. And I really hope you'll check out both our Walks and Devour offerings. If you're thinking of going to Paris, we do have a special discount we'll be sharing at the end, so stay tuned. I am curious if we have anybody here who has heard of Walks and Devour before. I'll start another poll and you can just let us know. If you've joined us before, welcome back. Thanks so much for being here. And if you haven't heard about us before, then we're really excited to meet you and we hope to see you sometime in Paris or one of our other destinations. So this is the part that I know you all came for. I am really excited to introduce our panel of experts. These are Paris insiders who know the city like the back of their hand, and they have lots of really interesting insights and tips to share with you. So first, I'm going to introduce a truly dynamic duo, Marcus and Chelsea. They're the passionate travel content creators behind Voyage with MC, and they inspire their travel community through captivating visuals and engaging storytelling. Their reels will make you want to hop on a plane and visit Paris and France right now. I promise. They've visited over 70 destinations in France, so they really know their stuff. And they, in particular, are passionate about exploring the off the beaten path parts of the country that really reveal the authentic side of France and the country's hidden gems. So I'll bring Marcus and Chelsea on stage now.
Hi guys, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. So we are Marcus and we're Chelsea and we're really happy to be here. I think as mentioned previously, we've traveled over 70 destinations all around France, but something about Paris always keeps us coming back for more, and we really want to be able to share our knowledge, tips and tricks and special things that we recommend with you guys, and we hope that you will find it helpful for this webinar. Thank you.
We're so glad that you both are here. Yeah, you've been to over 70 destinations. Where in France have you not been? And my biggest question is, where are you going next?
So we have done mostly the coast of France. So you can think about like the Côte d'Azur, like Provence, Brittany, Normandy, and maybe somewhere around Bordeaux. But where we've not really been is in the center of France. They call that the void, I guess. So we do want to come back to visit the Loire Valley someday, Champagne, perhaps. Yeah, those are some places that are still very high on our bucket list that somehow we've not managed to visit yet.
Well, I can't wait to see your travels unfold on your Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel. It's really fun to follow along. So thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having us.
The next guest I'm really excited to also introduce is Jennifer. Jennifer is originally from the United States and she moved to Europe in 2009. She's lived in Bordeaux since 2016, and Jennifer is an award-winning travel writer and content creator behind Luxe Adventure Traveler and Bordeaux Travel Guide. In the email after this event, you'll get all the information for Jennifer and Marcus and Chelsea, so don't worry. You can also see their handles on the slides here. Jennifer brings her audience along for immersive experiences and shares practical tips for traveling, plus ideas for creating really memorable itineraries for your trips. A fun fact about Jennifer is that she runs an Instagram account for her French-born Samoyed named Coco, who's adorable. That account is at Coco Traveling Samoyed. And she finds that Coco helps her connect with locals in a unique way, no matter where she goes. So I'll bring Jennifer on with us now. It's so nice to have you here, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer, as Haley said, and I am American. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I lived in Italy for 7 years before coming and living in Bordeaux France in the Southwest for 8 years now. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here and share with you what I have come to know about France.
Wonderful. We're so glad to have you and can't wait to kick off the questions where I know you're going to share a lot of great advice. And our last guest that is joining us is Leah. Leah is a teammate of mine at Walks and Devour Tours. She is the product and operations manager in Paris. She was born in Giverny near Claude Monet's home, which you should definitely visit if you get the chance. But she was raised in Paris. So Leah has spent her life falling in love with this incredible city, and she's particularly passionate about sharing the stories, secrets, and tips that help people really experience Paris like a local. Something that Leah told me when I was preparing these introductions is that Paris is more than a city, it's a way of life, which I think is really beautiful. And I'm excited for her to share all of that with you today.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Hallie, for the great introduction. So I'm Leah. Nice to meet you all. I have never been to the United States, so I'll admit that. Straight from the bat, I have been a bit all over Europe and spent a year in Japan, went back to Paris and decided to just settle because there's nothing like your hometown. I'm very excited and very proud to be crafting these amazing experiences at Walks and Devour for Paris, for my city. And I'm excited to share them all with you today.
Thanks, Leah. So you have had the privilege of going to Notre Dame since it opened in December. You've actually gone a few times, and you've taken some videos for us to be able to show our guests. So I'd love to play that for them if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Wow, I think as someone who hasn't had the chance to visit Notre Dame or, even after the renovation, it's really special to be able to have that sneak peek into what it looks like. Leah, what were some of your first impressions when you stepped into Notre Dame after they reopened?
I think the first thing I told myself is it's so light and bright inside, because as you see on the left-hand photo, it used to be a very dark church, and there was a beauty to it, obviously, but seeing it so bright, so airy, and also, there's a lot of people inside, obviously, but it's not overcrowded at the minute. So being able to walk the aisles to see the renovation full scale was really breathtaking. I think I've been 3 or 4 times since it's reopened, and every time it's just a wonder all around.
Wow, well, that's really special. I know that we got lots of questions, that people submitted a lot of questions beforehand about Notre Dame, so I'd love to ask a few more about that. How do you get tickets to Notre Dame these days?
So currently, tickets for Notre Dame's interior can be booked online up to 3 days in advance. So the release happens usually first at midnight Central European time, so Paris time, through the official website. But then they add more tickets on a day-to-day basis. So I would recommend booking those tickets online, especially because it's completely free.
And is there a good time to visit, in your opinion? Do you recommend going earlier in the morning to avoid crowds, or later in the afternoon? What's been your experience?
Definitely early in the morning as well as later in the afternoon works very well. On Thursdays, also the cathedral is open later. It closes at 7 p.m. on most days, and then on Thursdays, it's open until 10 p.m. at the moment. Also around noon, especially on weekdays, you can just try and go in. In my experience, I've seen the queue get very light. It's also very fast because the visiting time is about 30 minutes. So the line is actually quite fast. So if you see that the line is not too daunting, I would say go for it, even if you don't have tickets. Even in low season, especially in high season, it might be a different beast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so go now is
Exactly.
what I'm hearing. Well, it's
Yes.
not so busy. What about the bell towers? We got a few questions about that. Do you know anything about the bell towers?
Sorry. So the bell towers are not opened yet. They announced reopening in 2025, but for now we don't have any more information. So we are waiting to see when exactly that will be, but for now we don't have more information.
So stay tuned. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, we also got lots of questions about people who have never been to Paris before. So I'd love to talk about some tips for folks that have never been. Jennifer, we have lots of people visiting in the spring, but I feel like there's no bad time to go to Paris. Do you have a favorite month to be in Paris?
I prefer the spring and the late fall because first of all the temperatures are really nice, so it's not too hot like in the summertime to be walking around, and it's just also a really pretty time to visit. In the spring you have all the different flowers that are blooming. It's a good time to take a day trip to Giverny and see the gardens there in bloom. Of course, in the fall you have the fall colors, so that makes it really nice. And I feel like it's not super crowded like in the summertime. You know, everyone is visiting everywhere in Europe, so it gets really busy, and it's not my preferred time to be there. So.
Marcus and Chelsea, what do you think? Do you have a favorite time to visit Paris?
My favorite time would be spring. How about you?
I think spring as well.
Yeah, I think for at least for I can speak for me that for spring, you can see that the days are getting longer. There's something to look forward to. The temperatures are not as cold as they are in winter. So I think you can really start to see the life of the city start to grow, start to really come back on the trees. And then you see it's still not as crowded as compared to summer. And it's still a very enjoyable time, and it's a very comfortable temperature considering that we come from Singapore. So summer for us is not ideal because we have summer all year round in Singapore, but and spring in Paris is wonderful. It's the best time for us. Anything else you like to add? No?
Wonderful. Actually, I have another question for you as well, Marcus and Chelsea. I know you have shared a lot of really great tips for first-time visitors to Paris. Do you mind sharing a few of those with us today?
Yeah, okay. So I think for a city like Paris, it requires a lot of research before you do it. You can't quite just go into it and expect to see everything fall into your lap. I think the first tip that I can give would be to know how to get from the airport to the city center, to know what are the fees that is fixed. For example, the cab fares from Charles de Gaulle Airport to the city center, I think from the left bank is about 56, and then to the right bank is 64, please, if I'm correct. It's not the exact numbers, but because sometimes there are scams to look out for in the city, and those can really ruin your experience. There were a couple of times where we actually got scammed by the bracelet scammers near Sacré-Cœur. So I think these are things that we should watch out for, and it can really affect your trip. Yeah.
I think another thing to add is also about the accessibility as well, especially when taking public transportation. I think I would really recommend to pack lightly because for us, Paris is a very far destination. It's 13 hours away from where we live. So we were like coming with the suitcase. We're like, we're gonna buy everything. We're gonna bring everything, right? But when we were at the metro and we were facing this huge flight of stairs, and we're like, oh no, I'm sorry, Marcus. He had to haul up 2 30 kg suitcases up flights of stairs. And so that was when we realized that accessibility is a thing because maybe some of the buildings are a bit older, especially if you're choosing not to stay in a hotel and Airbnbs. You don't have lifts or escalators. So that's something that I tell people very often now when they ask me what to do is just don't overpack or be prepared. And you must be physically able to lift up your own luggage if you want to bring more things. Yeah.
Yeah, those are some great tips. It leads me to another question. What's the best way to get around Paris? And this can be for anyone that has some ideas.
For us, I think the metro is still the best way to go, because it takes you almost to anywhere around Paris. It's relatively efficient, and I think it's also quite affordable. But I think, of course, if you have some accessibility problems, then maybe you might want to consider the bus as an option, because there are no stairs. Probably the only one is up to the bus, and that's it. Yeah.
I can definitely weigh in on that. The last 2 years I've been dealing with a broken ankle, and I've had to go to Paris for some medical appointments and things, and dealt with learning about true accessibility in France if you have any sort of disability. So Marcus and Chelsea made a good recommendation. The bus network is actually really, really good, and you don't have to deal with the stairs of the metros, which most metro stations do not have elevators. Some of them do, but they're generally, if they've been installed long after the metro station was put in. So it might be an even longer walk to an elevator than just sort of managing with the stairs if you're able to do it. The bus has the ability to lower down for wheelchairs and for carriages, like a buggy if you're pushing your baby, stroller. Sorry, sometimes I forget the the American words for things. So the bus has the ability to lower down. And also another option that I like is the bateau bus. It's a water bus that has, I think it's like 12 different stops near major landmarks. And it's accessible also for wheelchair and strollers and things like that. So that's a nice option that sort of combines like a Seine river cruise with getting around, and you can get a full day pass where you can hop on and hop off as many times as you like. So that's a nice option to look into.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are great tips. I happen to know that Leia is a big biker and enjoys biking around Paris. Would you recommend that for folks who are visiting?
I would recommend it up to a point. So I bike virtually everywhere. I would not say that Paris is a very safe city to bike in. I would recommend that you stick to easy cycling path. So these are all the paths around the Seine River, especially the ones that are downstairs, because there are no cars there, and it's a lovely cycle. Also the one which is on Rue de Rivoli, which is basically the main thoroughfare that goes through the Louvre and all the way to the Concorde, which is at the bottom of the Champs-Élysées. This is a very, very nice bike ride. You can rent bikes in Paris. So there is the official bike sharing system, which is called Vélib, but you can also rent, private bikes like Donkey Republic line, and then you also have guided bike tours, so not walks or devour, but at least you're in a safer environment with your guide. So definitely something to try. Also, do get out of Paris to have a nice, cycle along the two main parks which are outside Paris. They're also quite safe. And Versailles is also a very nice place to have a little cycle. So I would recommend it if you feel brave enough.
I love it. That's great. Switching gears a little bit, we got lots of questions, obviously, about making sure that people get tickets in advance for these big attractions. I'm curious, Jennifer, in your opinion, what are the big attractions in Paris? And, you know, that includes museums as well that people should absolutely book in advance if they really want to visit.
So the things that you absolutely must book in advance are the Eiffel Tower, for sure. It sells out all the time. So those tickets open, I believe it's 1 month in advance, and they open on Paris time. So I see people all the time that are like, I'm up at, you know, some ungodly hour in the US trying to get tickets. So the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre is definitely another one. That line, I think I visited Paris the first time in maybe like 2005, and the line has been there since since way back then. So definitely book your skip the line tickets or a walks tour for that one. Sainte-Chapelle is another that often has a line that you want to get your tickets in advance. And the catacombs are another that sell out all the time. So Walks has a tour where you can kind of go behind the scenes and see some extras. So you definitely want to either do that or get your skip the line tickets. And those would be the things that I say that you definitely have to do in advance and plan for.
Yeah, and speaking of the Louvre, it's massive. Leah, do you have any tips for sort of making the most of a trip to the Louvre?
I would say, first and foremost, don't expect to see everything on your first try, even on your 10th try. I haven't seen all of the Louvre, and I've been many, many times. I find that group tours, when taken at the beginning, are a great way to get insider's tips on how to navigate the Louvre. Also, it will give you highlights on the masterpieces. The guide will explain the main, artistic currents. All of that gives you a great basis to then go out and explore on your own afterwards. You can spend an entire day in the Louvre, stopping in front of each piece. It would take you still weeks to see everything. So if you're a bit daunted, take a group tour. I would say that's the best recommendation I can give. Also, do wander off the beaten path, because people usually want to see the same pieces. The Mona Lisa is one. The Venice de Milo is another one. So you're going to see people attracted to these pieces. And as soon as you go off into, a little side corridor, which is also magnificent, because the Louvre is not just about the art pieces that are in it, it's also about the architecture of the building, because it used to be a royal palace. So there's always going to be something amazing to see. And if you have a bit of time, do that. I would encourage you to do that.
Yeah. Incredible. So much to discover at the Louvre, and really so many museums in Paris as well. Actually, I think sometimes maybe people forget that there's many other museums to visit too. Do you have a favorite museum in Paris, Marcus and Chelsea, or one that you think is particularly underrated?
For me personally, I love the Musée d'Orsay just because I'm a huge fan of Van Gogh and Monet's works. We actually did a little tour where we visited the actual paintings of Van Gogh and Monet, so that's why we really love that museum. And we actually prefer it to the Louvre because it's actually a museum that can be done in a day, where you can spend like a whole day there and really get to, go at your own pace. Whereas the Louvre is a bit more overwhelming. You really need to know what you want to see, I think. So that's my favorite museum.
Yeah, I think the Musée d'Orsay as well, not just the pieces inside, because I think it's held in a former railway station. The whole museum itself is really beautiful to look at. And especially when we did the tour with Walks, when we did Musée d'Orsay and then we went to Giverny to see Monet's house. I think that was such a beautiful experience. It was really seamless, and we talked about it a lot. We're like, wow, we're so glad we did that. Because I think one of the things is that when I went into the Louvre for the first time, I felt really overwhelmed. And I was looking at the picture. I was pretending to know what I was looking at, but I really had no idea what I was looking at. I was just like, yes, okay. But when it's different when you go on a tour and the guide's like, okay, look at the eyes, look at the colors. It's a bit different. This is what they're trying to portray. And now I get it. So I definitely recommend going on a tour if you have the option to. And I think another great one that is a free option is I like the Petit Palais.
Palais.
That is a really beautiful one as well. And I think it's free, so if you can, check it out.
Yeah, and they have a beautiful courtyard inside. I think it's all over Instagram. You might have seen it. But yeah, it is as beautiful as it is on social media.
I love that. Yeah, you, Marcus and Chelsea, and everyone here are great at really finding sort of off the beaten path places to explore. What are some of your top off the beaten path places in Paris that you think more people should know about or want to let them in on the secret?
I think there are a lot of great restaurants that don't have to be expensive in order for you to really experience good French food. For us, I think we recently discovered in our previous trip Brasserie du Bio and Brasserie des Prés. They are like a chain of restaurants by, I think, the Big Mama Group or Pink Mama Group, and they do affordable French food. Like for example, I think I had this steak frites. It was really great, and I enjoyed like the Paris-Brest, which is a lesser known, I would feel, a lesser known French dessert. People like to go for like, I don't know, like eclair or a tart, but I think the Paris-Brest that's where it's at. I'm a huge fan of the Paris-Brest from Brasserie des Prés. So that's one restaurant that I personally really love, and another one that I think people need to try is the flan. I know a lot of people don't particularly love the flan. It's actually like a French custard pie. I really love it. And there's a bakery. It's actually a Korean bakery that won the best flan of 2023. It's a competition that actually happens, and that is the custard pie, the flan from Mille et Un is divine.
He really likes
I love
food.
it. I knew it wasn't going to take long to get into the food side of Paris because there's so much to discover there. Actually, Marcus recommended a really great crepe place as well to me, and yeah, he's really good at finding some of those hidden gems. I'd love to hear from you, Jennifer, as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be food related, but what are some, if you have friends or family going to Paris, what do you recommend they do to sort of get off the beaten path?
Well, I'm a major foodie and I like to eat. So a lot of my recommendations revolve around food. Yeah, high five, Marcus. Actually, going back to museums, there's two museums that I love. And people are like, what? When I tell them. So there's a cheese museum. The Musée Vivant du Fromage. It's a little bit newer. It just opened last year. And you can go and learn about all of the cheese in France. And they have a little boutique where you can taste and shop. So still my heart. Also, there's a wine museum in Paris. And I know I live in Bordeaux and I'm telling you to go to the wine museum in Paris, but actually Paris used to be covered in vineyards, and there's a little wine museum that actually has a great restaurant inside of it as well. And it goes back through the history of when Paris was farmland and covered in vineyards, and you can eat there and you can do wine tastings, and they have different events and classes and things like that. So I think that's an interesting one. And then I'm maybe a terrible person to ask about restaurants because I love to go to Paris and eat all of the international food. I mean, living in France, we can walk out the door and eat French food anywhere, right? But there's great Asian restaurants in Paris. I go to one place all the time that has this like amazing spicy beef noodle soup, and also soup dumplings, xiaolongbao. So I will specifically like take the train, which is only 2 hours, and go to Paris for the day just to like have some of my favorite international foods. There's also a lobster roll place. Now my American is coming out. Like I miss lobster rolls from the East Coast. And there's this French chef that went to study and do his internship in the US, and he fell in love with lobster rolls, and he came back and opened what is now becoming like a chain of popular restaurants in Paris called Homer, and they have great lobster rolls. So I mean, you can step outside of the just French cuisine and try great international cuisines in Paris too.
That's a great point, right? Paris is such a global city that like the possibilities are endless. French food, other types of cuisine. It's a really fun place to eat. Leia, I have to get your insight here too. Some off the beaten path, hidden gem places in Paris, food or non-food related. Would love to get your insights here.
So I will give maybe two recommendations for restaurants and food in general. There is, it's a bit more high-end, but Septime is, I think, one of the most creative kitchens in Paris. I would really recommend a visit. And also, I have been a vegetarian for the past year, and I saw that someone was asking about vegetarian options in Paris. So definitely Paris is, well, far behind cities like London, I would say, or Barcelona in terms of just like the offerings for vegetarian and vegan food. But we are slowly getting there. If you are in France or in Paris, I would recommend just trying bakeries. That's the best tip we can give you about finding food on the spot. You will always have a good time at a bakery. And there is vegetarian bakery, which doesn't advertise itself as vegetarian at all, and you'll always have good food there. It's called Land and Monkeys, and they have opened several locations in Paris, and I think maybe outside Paris now. So I would recommend that as well. And then in terms of places, I cannot recommend enough the Montmartre Museum. It's a little museum that's located on the hill of Montmartre. So that's where you have the Sacré-Cœur, the Sacred Heart of Paris, that big white church that's on the hill. It's really a museum about the history of the neighborhood and the artists that live there. They also have temporary exhibitions about artists that used to live on the hill as well. And I grew up in this district, so this is really close to my heart. And every time I come back to that museum, it's like coming home. So I love it.
It is a really special little museum, and if you've been to Montmartre, it is so busy around the church and sort of that main square, but sort of getting into the back streets and visiting that museum really feels it's quiet, and it feels like it's a corner of Paris that a lot of people miss. It's really nice. That's a great recommendation. Speaking of different neighborhoods, Jennifer, do you have favorite neighborhoods in Paris that you love to explore?
I do. Usually when I go to Paris, I end up staying in the 7th. A lot of people want to stay there because they want to be close to the Eiffel Tower and have a hotel with an Eiffel Tower view, which is great, but I like it because it's a little bit more quiet, and aside from the Eiffel Tower, it's more of a really kind of residential area. I go with my dog a lot to Paris, and it's one of few grassy parks that are close by that dogs are allowed. So that's why it's my personal preference. It's a little bit more quiet, aside from the Eiffel Tower itself. I also love Montmartre. I mean, I think that you can't go to Montmartre and not just absolutely love it. There's areas that are super touristy nowadays, but like so lively, but you can also still go off the beaten path and you turn down the street and it's just like totally quiet. And there's a great little dog park up there that actually has like one of the best views of the Eiffel Tower from Montmartre, ironically. So a lot of great restaurants are there, and I'm obviously a wine lover, and the only remaining vineyard in Paris is in Montmartre, and you can actually visit with walks on their Montmartre tour, which is one of the only ways that you can visit the vineyard. But I mean, it's just like this little slice of, I don't know, like heaven that doesn't feel like you're in Paris, but you are. You're right in the center of it. So, I mean, those are some of my favorite neighborhoods.
Marcus and Chelsea, do you have any favorites, neighborhoods you keep coming back to?
For us, we would recommend staying somewhere a bit more central, especially if you've got a few days, maybe somewhere in the third or the fourth. Le Marais is usually perfect. It's located very centrally and it's just a few steps away from the Louvre or the Notre Dame, Saint Chapelle, things like that. There's a lots of great shopping options nearby as well. There's one place that we really love, which is Rue Montorgueil. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's a street where it has so many restaurants, and so like bakeries and basically everything that you want Paris to be, like you can imagine Paris to be. That's where everything kind of is. It's like a wow, it's really nice. And I think there's a side street, Rue du Nil. I think that's the place where we went on a walks tour before and we did a pastry tour, a chocolate and pastry tour, and the guide was explaining how in that street you can literally like live off that street because it has a grocer, it has a cheesemonger, it has restaurants, a bakery, everything that's right there. So I think it's somewhere that is close to Le Marais, and I think that's where our heart is when we think of Paris. Like that's where it is. Although it is definitely a bit more expensive to stay in, but I think if you got a few days, just stay there. Yeah.
It is really charming. Yeah, all of Paris is charming. You could say that about all the neighborhoods, but yeah, I second that for sure. What about day trips? I think you can keep yourself busy for sure within the city of Paris, but what about day trips? Jennifer, do you have any recommendations? And also feel free to jump in as well, Leia and Marcus and Chelsea.
Well, there's so many different day trips that you could take from Paris. Of course, the classics are to go to Versailles, which is very easy. You can just get on the RER and be there in like 40-ish minutes from Paris. You can go to Giverny to visit Monet's house. You can go a little further afield. You can even, like I said, it's 2 hours on the fast train to Bordeaux. So people do come and visit Bordeaux on a day trip. For reverse, I go to Paris on day trips. You can go to Champagne. The great thing about Paris is that the rail network of France was really built with Paris being its absolute hub. So pretty much no matter where you're going, a lot of the rail network connects through Paris. And so you can get pretty much anywhere. I mean, I wouldn't recommend Mont Saint Michel as a day trip. It would be an absolutely intense day trip. It can be done if you're really, really short on time, but I think you should go and stay longer. But I mean, the possibilities are sort of like endless of where you can go as a day trip. You can even go outside of France to like Brussels now on a day trip, or London. People do that as well. So there's so many possibilities.
Wow. Yeah. Marcus and Chelsea, do you have any other day trip suggestions?
I think there are two tiers of day trips. One is, you do a really short day trip, like maybe Giverny or Versailles, and then there's the other one where you wake up at 6, which we love to do, and then we go back at like 11 at night.
The last train possible.
Yeah, so we like to do the second one where we go to Mont Saint Michel. Actually, we go to places like Etretat, which is in Normandy, and it has one of the most famous cliffs in France, in our opinion. I think there was one we like to do, which is actually in Lyon, where we wake up really early and we do like just a day there, and then we come back. There's another town called Lille. which is, I believe, it's a lesser known town. Not much people visit it. They think it's just a transport hub, but it's got really nice Flanders, Flemish architecture. The food is, it's also, you can see the food is influenced by that kind of Flemish influence. And I think recently we also did a day trip. Maybe you can do to Strasbourg. You can see the half timbered houses. You can stroll Petite France, which is where you have that German kind of influence. So in France, you have like a lot of day trips that actually seem like they're influenced by the next border. You can travel France all just while still being in France.
Yeah, but that is,
Yeah.
to preface this, that is if
Yeah.
you're a little bit crazy like us. But if you're not crazy like us and you want to stick to the more conventional, like Giverny and Versailles, I think what we actually really enjoyed once was doing a bike tour in Versailles, which I don't think Walks offers, but I think it's really a unique way, because a lot of people have this misconception that Versailles is just about the palace. It's that's it. But it's actually a city with so much to see. And when we were doing the bike tour, we got to, go to the local market, pick up some goods. We cycled to a park, we did a little picnic, and I think it's a really nice way to see the city. But of course, I also felt a lot safer going in a group when cycling, because I agree that Paris is not the safest to cycle. I've tried, and I am I cannot cycle to save my life, and I struggled really hard with that. He was just like, wee, and he's gone, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. So if you want to try it but you're afraid, I would recommend, safety in numbers, right? They're not going to hit 10 people at once. But you didn't hear it from me. Yes.
Those are some great tips. Jennifer, were you going to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I mean, with day trips, there's so many options depending on what you're interested in. If you're interested in comics, you can take a day trip to Angoulême, which is easy to go from Paris. If you're into nature and you want to go to the beach, you can do that. Mountains are probably a little far for a day trip. But I mean, there's so many options in France. So depending on what your interests are, there's just endless destinations to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm taking notes. I'm writing down all of the manageable day trips, and then those ones that you wake up at 6 a.m. As well, because they both sound awesome. I'd love to go back to food in Paris and what that's like. Leah, one question we got was, how do you tell if a croissant is good or not? What are sort of the telltale things you should look for?
Oh, well, there's quite a few. One thing you should know about croissant is you have the right kind and then the wrong kind. We have a few insider tips on how to determine how they should look like, but a croissant should always be very light, airy, very puffy. You can't tell the layers from the outside, right? Because a croissant is supposed to be layered inside. It's 100 layers. But the outside should be very puffy and also a bit shiny as well. If it looks like a flaky croissant, that's not one that you should get, definitely. So yeah, I would recommend that. And then usually, as soon as you cut it open, if you don't see the layers, if you see a big hole in the inside, then never go back to that bakery. Just pick another one.
Those are some great tips to get us started. Marcus, you had mentioned flan earlier. What are some other typical pastries and sweets that people think of or have to try when they go to Paris?
So I'd just like to add one thing with Leah, which is that I always say that to know a good bakery is that you can usually smell it before you see it, and usually most of the time it's a good one. Okay, back to the question. So I think that one pastry or sort of dessert that you can try in France is the baba au rhum, which is, I believe, it's a yeast cake and it's soaked in rum. And the first place to have invented it, if I'm not wrong, it's somewhere called Storeur, which is at Rue du Montorgueil. and that's where it's the oldest pastry shop in Paris, and basically that is the origin of it. So I think that's one pastry that you can try. I think that if you like alcohol based kind of like desserts, it's a good sort of like dessert for you. But if not, then maybe you want to try something else. Do you have anything?
Ooh, I did not like the bubble rum, but I think there's definitely the classics. Like you try the macarons, you try the eclairs. There's when you go into a bakery in Paris, you will be overwhelmed. You will just, even if you close your eyes and you go like this, it will probably be good. So I would say be adventurous if you don't have any dietary restrictions, of course. Don't just pick whatever looks pretty to you and try it all. You're in Paris.
I love that. Yeah, try it all. Try it all. Jennifer, what about some tips for dining in France? Any tips about, looking at the menu, knowing how to order, how it might be different than sort of how we're maybe used to ordering in the US?
Absolutely. First of all, the French love to eat seasonally. So I personally avoid restaurants that have printed set menus that never change. It's like a dead giveaway that they're ordering in frozen things, and that what they're serving isn't necessarily fresh. The restaurants that write their menus on chalkboards based upon what the fresh seasonal ingredients available are like the best as far as I'm concerned, when you're looking for a good French restaurant. The menu changes regularly. You might be able to get examples of the menus online, but it's probably not going to be that exact menu of the day unless they post them on their social media. I also tell people to book reservations. If there's a restaurant that you really want to dine at, you need to make a reservation, unless they don't accept them. The way dining works in France is very different from the United States. In the United States, they constantly turn tables over to have as many tips and as many diners as possible. In France, you might get 1 or 2 seatings per meal. So if they offer more than 1 seating, it might be 7 o'clock and then 8:30. And once they're full, they're more than happy to turn you away because you can stay at the restaurant until they close, and they're literally ushering you out the door as they're ready to go home. So that's why you want to make reservations for places. Also, always be polite. One thing that I hear all the time is that people think the French are rude, but there's like little customs here that if you don't do them, if you do them, the little customs, you're going to get like the best service. But if you don't, you might get the kind of cold shoulder, I guess. So it's really important in French culture to always greet. And this goes for restaurants, shops, whatever. You're entering the bakery, entering the boulangerie, at the airport, doesn't matter. You always, always, always greet someone with a bonjour before you ask your question. Is there a table available? I would like whatever I'm looking for. Always greet them because if you do that, I guarantee you they will automatically give you better service than if you just go into sort of demanding whatever it is that you want. It's just like a little French custom. And then also, I hear a lot that people have conceptions that their waiter's not paying attention to them. And again, this is a cultural difference between France and the United States, where here, the waiters, they want to leave you alone. You're supposed to enjoy and savor the meal and have conversation. And it's supposed to be this like long, relaxing, enjoyable affair. So if you need something from the waiter, you need to get their attention. ask for it, because if you're waiting for them to notice that you need a refill or that you want to order something else, you're going to be continuing to wait. And Leah, you're French, so feel free to jump in on this. But those are the two major things I think with dining out, is that you need to greet people, and then if you need something, you need to ask for it. Don't just wait for the waiter to come back. And if you want the bill, the same thing. They're not going to give it to you until you ask for it, because they presume that you want to just relax. So if you're in a rush, don't be afraid to tell the waiter that ahead of time. I have someplace to be, I need to speed things along. That's totally fine to tell them in advance.
Those are some really great tips. We are just about at our time. I said that this hour was going to fly by, and it truly has. Rapid fire. What's your favorite French food? Leah, I'll start with you, and then Marcus and Chelsea, and then Jennifer.
Sorry, Heidi, could you say that again, please?
Your favorite French food?
Oh, I have a favorite, which actually is what my great grandma used to make me when I was a child. So I'm from Normandy originally, and in Normandy they are very big on cream and butter. This is cream, butter, and apples as well, cider, you name it. And so she would make this veal à la Normande, so Normandy style veal. That's veal with, it can be with mushrooms, doesn't have to be, but what's important is that it is cooked in cream, and they actually, it's actually used with Calvados. So Calvados is kind of a liquor that's made from cider. And you would then put fire to your veal and kind of cook it then. And I would kind of hide away, from where she was cooking, because, the fire was getting so big that it was a bit scary when I was 4 years old. And so this kind of stayed in my mind as just the meal that I go to for comfort food, which you don't have in a lot of places, but in Normandy, you definitely would see it on the restaurant menu.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Thanks for sharing that. Marcus and Chelsea, you can only pick one. Well, you can pick one each. You can only pick one French food. What do you pick?
I would pick boeuf bourguignon for me.
For me, marée de canard, which is like duck breast, and I prefer it to steak frite. It's, oh my god, when we were traveling through southwest France, which is like, the specialty there, I had it every day. I cooked it at home as well. Yeah, I can't get over it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I think we're all getting hungry now. And Jennifer, your favorite French food?
I'm gonna say oysters. Living in Bordeaux, we have, of course, the Bassin d'Arcachon, and we have oyster farmers galore along the basin. So you actually don't really see these exported elsewhere throughout France. The oysters that you usually see on restaurant menus and grocery stores, they usually come from Brittany and Normandy. So I love to go, and it's probably the thing I go out to eat for the most, is I go to the oyster shacks. They're totally no frills. They actually only have a license to serve oysters, other shellfish like shrimp and sea snails like bullets, and pate from here in the Southwest, and wine. And that's it. You can't order anything else. And it's magical to sit on the sand at their little wooden tables at these little wooden shacks, looking out over one of what has been declared one of the most beautiful beaches in France. You look directly across to the Dune du Pilot, which is the largest sand dune in Europe. And it's just the atmosphere, the food, amazing.
Wow. Yeah, I wish I could be there right now. That does sound amazing. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, for sharing your tips and your expertise. I know I personally learned a lot, and I hope everybody else who joined us did as well. It was a really fun conversation, and boy, did it fly. As we promised, we're happy to share a 10% promo code for our Paris walking and food tours. So this is a special promotion that's available through this weekend. So if you've got a trip coming up to Paris, definitely check out some of our offerings, and we would love to see you in Paris. We also want to keep in touch. If you're traveling somewhere else, please follow us on social media. We're at Walks Tours and at Devour_Tours. We'd love to stay connected. Cassandra has been sharing a lot of our blog posts, which are packed with travel tips. So if we didn't get to your question today, check out the blogs. I'm pretty sure that we will have the answer on there to help you with your trip planning. And lastly, sign up for our email newsletter on our websites. We'll often share information about new tours and experiences that we're launching. We'll share blog posts, and it's a great way to just sort of keep an eye on what we're up to. So with that, merci. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. It's been wonderful. Thank you to Jennifer, Leah, Marcus, and Chelsea. We really hope to see you in Paris soon. Au revoir and take care.